Hello and welcome to Beth of Fresh Air. It is December 12th, 2025. Sometimes it's fun to say the date just to ground myself a little bit. And I have had a kind of crazy day. Friends of mine got married. I wanted to make sure and send a huge shout out to Justin Billingtano and Melissa Martin, who tied the knot today. I was invited to their Zoom wedding, and oh my goodness, I got the time zone wrong. I can't believe I did that. I showed up after it was all done. I'm like, where are all the people? They're like, we're done. I'm like, oh darn it. It really sucked. But I'm excited to be here today, and I have a special guest. Dagmar Stansova is going to be joining me to talk about natural health cults. I am a broken record on this one. It's been such an awakening, and so we're going to go through a lot of what we've been through. We've been through the trenches, you might say, for many years, and searching. And Dagmar and I both found the Love Your Liver path, which we're going to talk about. Definitely can't miss that. And I think, let's see, I just do have a few announcements, things coming up. Next week, I'm hosting Kelsey Kenny. So if any of you are familiar with her in the Love Your Liver world, then she's going to come on the 18th, 3 p.m. Central Time, to talk about brain and breath food. So I'm pretty excited because she always holds back with her molecular biology knowledge, and I'm just going to tell her to go wild. And let's see, what else do we have coming up on Monday? I'm being interviewed by Joel Schaefer, so I'm not sure exactly when that's going to come out, but I'm super excited. The interview yesterday with Joel was, for me, like outstanding, really power-packed. It was all I could do to just hang on every single word because it was so profound and deep, and I really loved that. Coming up in the House of Free Will this week, we have 2 meetings. One is for Love Your Liver. That's actually tomorrow. So if you're not already a member of the House of Free Will, then it's not too late to send me an application. And you can find a link in the show notes below. So we're going to meet tomorrow to talk Love Your Liver. And then there is on the 22nd another roundtable in law where we're getting down. Similar theme coming up. Actually, on the 22nd, I also have Alex Michael on for a King Hero interview, who is the music conspiracy guru guy. If you haven't heard his music or come across him, I'm sure you have. I am really, really stoked for that because he's just awesome. I love his music. I've been using his music, solfeggio recordings, to write to. It's really good. Speaking of writing, I'm going to bring Dagmar on without further ado. Hello, Dagmar. Welcome.
Hello, Beth. Oh my gosh, it's so good to be back here.
Nice to see you. Nice to have you here. And I'm just going to grab our little menu there. And
I just want to say how much I love your intro music.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's off of one of my recordings that I think you have now.
I had a feeling, just the whole ambiance of it just feels like, it got me kind of grounded and in a good space.
That's awesome. I'm so glad. Yeah, it has the same effect for me to have a whole minute of like, okay, all right, just land. Yeah. And hello, Maya. I'm glad you're here. Hello, hello, she says. That's how I love to say hello, hello. Really good. And Elisa, nice to see you again. Thanks for doing this. You needed a breath of fresh air. There you go. Well, you're in exactly the right place for that. And so have you been doing, Dagmar? Are you writing
Good.
crazy?
Yes, writing, painting the house, not painting paintings, and just doing a lot of manual labor. I'm so excited though that you're gonna have Kelsey and you're gonna like invite her to let her hair down and share all kinds of cool stuff, just like Kelsey unabridged. Ooh,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we're both members of the Love Your Liver forum, and we attend her office hours. And every time she goes like really deep on the biochemistry, she apologizes for that. And I'm like, no, we want that. We want that stuff. Bring it on.
And she just has such a beautiful manner of presenting it. Chemistry never sounded so good.
Exactly.
When it's coming through her, and it feels like, oh, this is I don't know. She does something for me.
Oh, and there's Mr. Thor at the door. Welcome. And he's on 2 platforms. Well done. That's awesome. There's YouTube now, by the way, streams both a vertical and a horizontal thing. So I've noticed they actually create 2 recordings, kind of like a split personality going on. So that's all right. You might be on one of those, and I'm glad you're here. Uh, nearly happy holidays to y'all. I'm actually having a Christmas party today, later on, just after this. We're going to get together with my farm people and eat Laotian food. How does
Mm.
that sound for Christmas?
Very ho ho ho.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, oh, natural health,
Yeah.
the cult.
God.
It's heavy.
What a subject. I mean, like, there's just so many ways to enter this one, you know? And because you've been through it all, I've been through so much. I mean, especially the last 2.5 decades, I mean, it really bloomed in Los Angeles. That's where I was for most of that time. And it was just like one thing after another. And unfortunately, I didn't know Dr. Garrett Smith then. uh, would have saved me a lot of money and a lot of self poisoning in the name of health. But I guess I took the long route, you know. I had to go one by one, as I'm sure you did. I mean, and I gave it full like a year. I would try something for a year, not just for a week or two. I really went to see what effect it would have. And but it's still so hard to connect the dots, because the propaganda, or the I don't know if it's propaganda. I think people are well meaning, they think that this is the only answer. So sometimes I don't think it's a conspiracy. I don't necessarily think everything is a crazy psyop, but well intentioned. We're looking for food. People, we're always looking for ways to nourish ourselves. And we've gotten so far away from, actually providing our food and being connected to it, that people just really get into anything exotic that comes around. And if they have a good spokesperson, someone like David Wolf, what a great spokesperson at the time. And it really worked well when he was young, because,
Mhm.
a lot of these people are really young. So they always look damn good. And you go, oh my God, if I eat a gigantic bowl of greens and tomatoes and every day, I'm going to look like her.
Yeah,
And that's the misleading part. As with, like, right now we have with the methylene blue, you have all these young, what do you call those people who are influencers, and they're young. So no matter what crappy shit you do to yourself, um, you'll probably still look fine.
exactly. Yeah, I was just going to go back to a point that the uh, the commitment side is a big part of it, and what I notice, and this goes along with the comment about the youth, is that there's a lot of playing at natural health, like it's a game,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and you don't play at something unless you have the luxury to do that. And who has the luxury to do that is people who have not yet accumulated a whole lifetime of toxicities.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
so they can take weird remedies and weird drugs and, go on these fad diets and not necessarily suffer in that exact time. They're probably setting up future suffering, or pretty much a
Mm-hmm.
guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I decided this year that I'll never take health advice from a young person again. No offense.
Yeah. Yeah.
No
Me too.
offense to the young people. I love you. You're awesome. But you don't hold the credibility that someone who's really been through things a lot could have. And shout out to Garrett Smith, because he's not. I mean, he's not an old guy, but he's not a spring chicken either. And he's got experience. He's worked with people for many, many years. And when he discovered the wayward nature of the information that he was bringing innocently, right? Like this is a very good point that you made, that the hardest part of exposing the natural health scam cult is that most people have good intentions,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
They actually want to help you. They want to help themselves. They want to be healthy. They've got the right idea behind things, but in practical reality, they don't understand how weaponized it is against us.
Yeah, I mean, just even if the thing that slowly, like I was looking at the progression of things that I did over the years, and I marked the ones that really had an impact, and I saw that really I started to have an understanding and impact when I was willing to open my mind to the possibility that plant foods have a lot of that they could, you put them in the toxicology books, that there's a lot of natural poisons, which, as we talked in Love Your Liver, that it's the duration paradox, that in the beginning you feel great because that poison is shutting down your bile and your detox, and so you feel amazing. But then it starts to go downhill. But then you're already in a mental state where you're going to deny it. You're going to say, no, no, I just need more of it. Or a practitioner will tell you, that, oh, no, it's just you haven't taken enough. Oh, you've only been taking this much, of some Chinese herb or hydrogen water, or oh my gosh, I mean, or chlorella or spirulina, or whatever, is the fad du jour, or chocolate. It's medicinal. It's all medicine. It's plant medicine. That umbrella, that word is now like, it's like back to the land. Plant medicine. We're all natural people. We need our ayahuasca.
Yeah,
And
exactly. And we'll take this a little bit one at a time as well, just to uh, be more like a little specific and methodical. So you mentioned, for example, if we start out with David Wolfe being the guy who wrote the Sun Diet. What was it? Something like that. The Sun Food
yeah,
Diet.
he wrote a couple of books, and the Be Beautiful book or something like that, where he
This
had all
was the Sun Food Diet,
the
and
sun
yeah,
diet. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and it's the raw vegan movement.
yeah. Yep.
So this is like 20, at least 20 years ago. I was between cancer diagnoses. I had recovered to some degree. That's when I came across David Wolfe and the raw vegan diet, and it claimed to be able to heal everything. It's when I started doing green shots of wheatgrass
Right.
and barfing my cookies up. I remember the last time I doubled up on my shots, and they just came right back up at me. And there was some obvious signs in that, but because it was so promoted and so, there was a whole cult in my local community that formed up around it. We had these huge meetings and raw potlucks, and we all learned these techniques of whether it was juicing or creating like a raw pie, or all of this stuff that it didn't matter what time of year that you're in, you're just chomping down on this raw food. And I don't know about you, but I do know people that went the long haul with that one, like not just a few years, but they went 20 years on the raw vegan diet, and they disappeared. Their
Mhm.
bodies got smaller and smaller. Now I would know to say that they actually became an undertype, which is a designation that Garrett uses to describe people who either lose weight when they get sick or they gain weight when they get sick. Two very different kind of body types and
So,
living types. We got two unders here, right?
yes. Well, after being on the raw vegan for a while, I became an overtype.
Oh,
In the
interesting.
beginning, I was an under, and
Mhm.
then I became an over. Yeah. Um, yeah. What else were you saying about that?
Yeah, so the raw vegan diet and people like literally disappearing, their
Right.
frames
Yes.
disappearing.
Yeah. Yeah. That
So
whole.
skinny.
I've watched many people. It's a great. expression, and what does it mean on so many levels, the disappearance. What a great way to make people disappear. And also the vitality, the elan vital of life starts to fade. So you get these kind of people who are really wired. I remember the guy who used to own Giuliano's, which was this raw vegan restaurant in LA. I mean, he was so full of the carotenoids, and he was just like constantly, his nerves were on edge. He would blow out. It was like his nervous system was slowly degenerating, but he thought he was just doing, bringing more vitality to himself. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I remember that whole, and then learning how to basically take anything raw and make it taste like something cooked. That
Yeah.
that was the whole point. And and I discovered many culinary practices. I learned some principles, of how to create the umami flavor, salty, sweet, sour, and fatty, and putting that, but using nuts and plants, plant foods and vegetables and fruits, right? So I was so proud of myself, like that I could create these amazing sauces, but not use any sugar. I would use a mango instead, or an apple, or some other thing. I thought it was so. I felt like this gourmet, this raw gourmet, and I would make all these chocolates. And and I remember, that whole phase, what that did to me, and I became like a drug addict, but I didn't realize it. I would have never, been able to admit that because I had no education. And
Right.
yet I understood chemistry, but I never, which made me, when I look at the past, I'm like, gosh, I mean, I was pre-med. I should have just gone and looked at the chemistry of some of these things, but I didn't, because the spell was quite strong with, people coming in. Not that that's an excuse, but I'm trying to like have compassion for my past mistakes, and see them as part of the path. But and then and then you have people like David Wolf who then talk kind of pretend science. That's part of the spell, where he would bring in so-called science but just pull out certain types of research that would show how positive the effects of some of these things are. But all that research generally, as I'm learning now thanks to Garrett, is that some of those were just not longer than 6 months of benefits, but they don't go further to show you what happens down the line when the person gets older, or when they become pregnant, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the short term versus the long term. And what happens in the short term when, say, almost any change that you make to your diet or supplementation or herbs and everything like that is actually going to create some kind of a response, and that we know now that that response can actually be completely depressing and suppressing the system that causes detox in the body. The aldehyde dehydrogenase is a big one. And so when you take something, you take the herb, the supplement, or you do the thing, and then you feel better, you instantly manufacture a belief that it worked. And so when you go down the line and it stops working, which is inevitable, right? I have 20 years of evidence now since surviving cancer of when things appeared to work and I'd get all excited, I'd manufacture that belief, I'd keep on doing it. And then when it stopped working, I still had the belief and I
Mm.
would keep doing it. And you were saying earlier about how they always say, if you say, oh, that herb didn't work, they would say, oh, you need to take so much more of it and you have to take it, you know, 6 times a day and all the copious amounts. That's one of the really big things that happened in, I don't know exactly how that happened in the natural health world, but it's like go big or go home. So if you got a little bit of a result from a small amount, then you're just going to gob it on.
Or they would say, oh, but you need to take a little bit of black pepper with that turmeric so that it gets fully absorbed, which is really no different than all these crazy commercials we see on TV where they say, if your antidepressant isn't working, then take this to support your antidepressant. It's the same thing, it's just a different scale. And so when you slowly start to look at that, it's very unpleasant. But you have to be careful that you don't become like paranoid and start to think like, oh, everybody's trying to kill us. Because I do think that that's an important thing to look at when you're looking at these cults, is that you don't want to be like terrified of the cult. You don't want to bring in this, because to me that's part of the unpoisoning. To me, that this diet that we're on right now, or that's not a diet, it's a paradigm, it's a lifestyle, it's an approach, it's a way of looking at what we put in ourselves. um, so it's not really a diet, but it's a way of life. But a big part of it for me is recognizing how do we poison ourselves with our own the spell that we put on ourselves. Maybe somebody else starts the spell, but then we keep it going, like what you were saying. How do we still want that comfort of going, no, I know this is working, of course it's working, even though you're feeling like something's off, but you go, no, 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 that's just part of how it's working. It's my
Oh,
detox. And I would see people on some of these diets that I was on, and they were diets. um, People would be having mega oozing sores, like the people who do the raw primal with tons of raw dairy and raw eggs and organs and all that. They would get like an oozing sore or something really, really intense, but they'd be like, oh no, that's just, old toxins coming out, where it's actually the continual bringing in of toxins that keeps it, that the body had to find a way to, an outlet for some of these things to come out. I just think, I think we're amazing that we're still sitting here considering.
yeah,
But
we're incredibly, I don't like that word resilient anymore because it's been weaponized, but to me that, yeah, I mean, I should be dead for sure. If people didn't hear my whole sad story, I did, there is an interview of Garrett interviewing me on my channel, on his channel as well, so you can go back to that. And, yeah, that classic cliche, the enemies within, it really is, you end up with two sides of it, your own internal belief system, and then your membership in some cult, right? I now, having come to a new approach with it, I'm out of the cult. I've been removed from the cult. It wasn't even me leaving the cult. It was, I'm being rejected from the natural health cult now. Not every single person will just like, oh, Beth lost her mind, I'm out of here. But a lot of them are in that exact place where the allegiance that we have and the relationships that we have based on the unwritten agreement that we all are, down with all of these kind of remedies and stuff like that. It goes very, very deep, and it offends people to the core when you suggest something else. I just had an experience of this in the House of Free Will. We were chatting, and so there's been a variety of different kind of, um, you know, arguments against Garrett's approach, which is, by the way, called toxic bile paradigm. For anyone who doesn't know, you can find him at Nutrition Detective. That he's on Twitter and Instagram, and his website, nutritiondetective.com, if you want to follow up with that. And this is one of the things I wanted to talk about also, is like how it makes it, first of all, seem like I'm just in a different cult. And, a few people showed up to back me up and say, oh, no, this is good. But one of the common responses that I've heard now is that vitamins don't exist, so you can't talk vitamins. And that this was a recent one where a substance in your body is different than a substance outside of your body. I wanted to answer this really quickly because I know for a fact, And this is back to Grant Jenner, who discovered low vitamin A as a good path. It's not the only path by any stretch of the imagination. It's only just really a sliver of it. It's just a big discovery that if you give a lab person a molecule, which there's no such thing as a molecule of zinc, it's always going to be connected to a picolinate or to, I don't know, all the iterations of zinc. It's always connected to something. If you give them one that's from the body and one that's from a supplement, they will not be able to tell the difference. They will not know the origin of that. And so that kind of proves something to me anyway.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And also just the idea, I don't know if you've ever talked about this, but the concept of dry chemistry and live chemistry. I mean, there's like dry chemistry is just you're doing it outside of the body, you're putting things together, but then we really don't know, except through our own experience, what happens when you put something in your body. I mean, there is research on that too, but I just find that fascinating that people will say, well, this chemical is for this. Well, not for everyone. We are slightly different, all of us, in how we remove poisons from our body or how we deal with things that our body doesn't want. We all have different strengths and different weaknesses.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the foundation of it, that we are all actually unique, but this is also a weaponized kind of thing, because
Yeah,
then they'll say, "Oh, it's a poison for you, but it's not a poison for me. That's just a load of crap. Poison is poison." And yes, you may deal with it differently based on your age, based on your condition, based on your climate, all kinds of
but
things,
still,
based on your beliefs, all kinds of things.
but
Um,
poison is poison.
yeah, poison is poison, no
Yeah.
matter how you look at it. So I Kai uh Karaimon 11, still trying to pronounce your name. I did have fasting on the list, so we can definitely get into that. And hello, Learning Time, welcome. I'm glad you are here. If you don't mind helping me share out Beth of Fresh Air, by the way, it just tends to, it's stupid. I can get off the stream and look at it at a video. It has less views than it had people on the live. These do turn into podcasts after the fact. We're live right now on Facebook and YouTube, X, Rumble, and even Vigilante TV. So, did you ever do any fasting, Dagmar?
Yes, of course. Come on. There's nothing that I haven't tried or done. But before we go into the fasting, I just wanted to say something that you mentioned in the what you sent out to people. The two sides of accepting everything and then also rejecting everything. Because you were kind of talking about that, and what I'm running into that now with people who, because they've been through so much, and if they ask me, what are you eating now, and but then this is one of those things that people go into, like, oh, okay, no, I just have to live my life. I just have to live my life and do it, and not another thing. I can't do another thing. So it's like the all out rejection of something. And then at the same time, that same person, if someone comes in with a story or a narrative that appeals to the part of them that is either frightened or frustrated or whatever, they can jump in and go all in, to so it's really interesting. um
Yeah, there's fatigue that happens over time,
yeah.
right? That there's so many people that said, "Oh, this is the bomb. This is the way. You just have to do this, and everything's going to go perfectly." And then you get down the line, and you're just like, "Wow, I put a lot of time, energy, and money, right? Because you invest every single time
Mhm.
you make a turn or make a choice of some kind." And yeah, that fatigue. Even my son, he says to me, "Mom, what makes you think this is the truth?" Because he's seen me come through a number of iterations, and I ruined him and poisoned him along the way, and so it's kind of hard to live down. But yeah, that accepting everything with a kind of like open trust spirit, and the lovers of nature, they're just, "Oh, it's natural. I'm going to put it in my body," without even looking at it. I mean, I did that continuously over the years.
Me
I would
too.
literally hear something on the grapevine, or someone would send me a single text, or I would read one crappy article in a natural magazine without any receipts or references or real research attached to it. And I'd be like, I'm on it. I'm gonna do that, and a lot of it.
Oh, making the cabbage soup. Remember that one? The cabbage soup diet. Oh, that was all kinds of craziness. But as far as fasting goes, to what you were saying before, I I have done it, and all I found was that it put me, just like cold water plunging. It would put me into a fight or flight state.
Mhm.
That felt good in the moment, and maybe psychologically it made me feel like, oh, it's just like being able to hold your breath a long time. Great, I mean, it does have certain pluses, and it will, reveal to you what state your body is in as far as, oxygen and all that. But I don't know if I want to hold my breath for longer than 3 minutes every day. Um, Maybe that's not the best analogy, but the fasting, for sure, I found that it just made me feel good for a moment, and then sometimes it just made me feel horrific from the very beginning throughout, and it just felt like I'm starving myself, and I felt I would have terrible nightmares. And every time I look at the fasting people who do that, they don't they don't feel like they've got, uh, and that's not to say that for some people, yeah, maybe it might make you feel better depending where you're at in that moment. If you're so toxic that having a few days of not poisoning yourself with the same food that you're always eating, your body may need that break, and just even that will give you some relief. But again, the moment you start eating the same stuff you've always been eating, you're right back where you were before.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. It's funny because I outright rejected fasting in my mind. It was just like a no. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to explain why I'm not doing it. I'm not going to research this. I always heard people's like, "Oh, it's the best. You feel like $1 million. You get so much energy while you're fasting." And you pointed out, because it puts you in fight or flight. That's why, because it jacks up your adrenals, and you're going to live on adrenaline and cortisol until your body can get food. That's the only way it knows to manufacture some essentially fake short term energy at high cost.
Mhm.
And yeah, so yeah, it completely burns out your adrenals. It also, to me, this really fits into the agenda that we're in right now, the depopulation agenda, getting us used to starvation, because that's how they took populations out,
Mhm.
was just by destroying a food supply, or in our case, like the prices and the supply chains and all of that kind of stuff. That I know when 2020 hit, I actually went into a weird place of eating much less, and it was to try to prove to myself that I didn't need food if they took it away. So that's pretty bleak. And yeah, that feeling good, I just want to repeat it. You might feel good because of the adrenaline, and also because you're not putting toxins in your body at the same rate. But you cannot detox without food. I apologize. Can you talk for a minute while I go get the door?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'll be right back.
So we were talking about. Oh, I'm having a niacin flush, by the way. It's like, oh my god. um, so what was I going to say about fasting? It puts you into fight or flight, but you feel good about it, which is so ironic that you have something that generally is a really bad thing, starvation. When you're starving, and then you create an art form from it. So to consciously starve yourself, that to me seems like there's something off about that, something anti-life, like the whole idea of uh, the disappearing thing that Beth brought up in the beginning. Fasting to me is another version of having us disappear, to disappear into this place of starvation. Like, why make an art form out of starvation when it's nothing that we ever strive for? Is it any goal of any human being to ever experience starvation? It's the last resort, you know. And so people are like, oh yes, fasting is so good for you. I'm like, what, in what world is starving good for you?
I know, I know. It just would have been so insane to our ancestors who were starving and had a hard time finding food. So I just wanted to go back to a comment before we lose it. Mary said it feels like the poison acts differently in different people according to their existing
Exactly.
toxicity, and that's exactly right. That a more toxic person, a little bit of poison can be a huge insult to them. It can put an end to their good day, for example. And somebody who's relatively clean can also have a strong reaction to a poison because they notice it compared to,
Mhm.
you've got a slew inside and you throw a few more drops in there. You don't notice it nearly as much unless your liver's on that edge. And I've been in that place where, a half a cup of coffee and I feel absolutely terrible.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, and the body knows how to die slow. Is I was just going to add to that about fasting, and that's what it's doing when you're fasting. It's ridiculous, and it's tragic. But I did hear of somebody who died fasting this year, and that's again due to just the beliefs that people have.
Yeah, and when you're dying slow, you become very alert. You know, like when
I,
that's the whole joy of that adrenaline rush, or whatever you want to call it, or the cortisol, or the post runner's high. You know, your body thinks it's being torn apart, and something terrible is happening, so you're alert. And people love that. It's a great feeling to be super, hearing well, seeing well, fully present. Um, but I prefer to be present through my parasympathetic nervous system rather than through that one. Even though sometimes if there's somebody chasing me, or if I see a weird person walking across the street, I want that rush that will alert me and be like, oh no, go further away from this person. It's not to say that I don't want that, but I don't want to be creating it myself or making that a lifestyle. Uh,
Exactly. It's very expensive. It requires a great deal of energy input, and it's not sustainable over time. And you don't heal in your sympathetic nervous state. You only heal in your parasympathetic nervous state. So yeah, being in that, what creates hyper vigilance, which you like better than being like all sleepy and out of it.
mhm.
But yeah, it's not a healing place by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, I was going to say quickly that when my digestion broke down literally 100%, I guess 3 or maybe going on 4 years ago, the last resort that the person I was working with at the time told me to fast. So I was already way in trouble, intensely in trouble. And then their conclusion was the food was causing that trouble. It was partly right, but it was, 9 days in, I practically went insane. It was some of the hardest times going to try to go to sleep every night, and my body's like screaming for nutrients, and I'm denying, and I'm using all my spiritual power to overcome, and releasing this fear of dying, which came up in Technicolor. So that's where, there can actually be some spiritual goodness from fasting. That's the one reason that I think if people are called to that, not that someone could come and prescribe to you to do that, but if you feel called to do that for your spirit, there definitely can be benefits, but it's not physical. There's no physical benefit there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. And then, coming off the fast and that's like, oh, well, you have to do this and you have to do that. And it's like, no, your body's just going to keep reacting the same way it was because it's like going, yay, I can detox again.
I remember the very first fast I did. I was working on One Life to Live, and one of the other actresses in there, she's like, "Let's go to one of those fat farms for the weekend." And neither one of us was fat, okay? But we went to this place where they just you fasted for 2 days, and they gave you all these juices and things, and I was just like dying there. And first thing, as we're going home on the bus from upstate New York, she pulls out her candy bars and her sodas, and she just starts doing the same thing as before. But she goes to this place every month. So it's like this mad, what do you call that, wheel,
Manic.
hamster wheel, where she just keeps managing it a little bit, not even, and then thinking that that's all I have to do is every month go and fast, and then I can do whatever I want. uh,
Exactly. Yeah, the cleanse craze, the weekend cleanse, gallstone flush or whatever it is, and then you go and you come away with the belief that, oh, my liver's clean now.
I know, I know. I just heard somebody who did a liver flush, and and that caused his whole body to go into this major major meltdown where he had to be hospitalized. I mean, that's, you take these herbs, which are basically the poison in a very big large dose, and he's been accumulating it obviously over decades. And then you know it's just amazing, and you never hear about this. People won't ever tell you that a liver flush could cause all kinds of things. um, I mean, that's just one out of hundreds of things that are out there, like the whole colonic craze too.
Mhm.
Whatever you can do, whatever you want, just make sure you get your weekly colonic, or that you do your enema every day. I mean, it's not a lifestyle, you
Right.
know.
What do you see wrong with colonics? Just like the frequency of them or relying on them
I
or
think, I think for me, just the like my farmer common sense that that things should be coming down over there, not up, uh,
Mhm,
and in large amounts like that. And I
mhm.
think that it's just causing your body to not have to function, and the muscles and everything else, is being blown out and overexpanded. To me, that's, yeah. I'm not a big fan, though I've done them, but they're kind of like a false cleansing. Like the same idea, like you were saying, that people will take these herbs and they go, now my liver's clean, and they think, okay, I did a colonic, now I am cleansed. It's it's deep psychological stuff, that, like, the kind of work that you do is the thing that is very important to do with this kind of lifestyle practice, that you stay on top of who's talking inside, what part of you feels like it's so filthy and dirty that it needs to be cleansed and needs to be blessed. Now you are now clean, my child. you know um
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
uh
Mary was pointing out that, it's actually unnatural. Now I used to do a lot of colonics, and it would help a lot because I would always err on the side of, more being backed up than the other way around. But yeah, it's totally unnatural. And I have become an extremely big fan of niacin enemas. I dumped the coffee. That to me is a cult. They're clearly caffeine is a poison, and my body doesn't agree with it by any means. So
it's a
yeah,
pesticide.
but it is unnatural, and then that's where the natural fallacy comes, right? That's the logic that if it's natural, it's good. If it's unnatural, it's bad. And this is not knowledge in either case, right? First of all, I'm curious what you have to say, but first of all, we don't live in a natural world by any stretch of the imagination. It's not God's intention that we end up so toxic, accumulating over time, like the trees in a ring. You can see the lifetime of the abuse that the liver has taken. And then what I noticed about the niacin enema compared to the coffee enema, it felt like it was more of a dependency. Like that was something that I needed.
Hmm.
With the niacin enema, it actually heals my gut. So it works by itself. And, there will be times where I rely on it more, especially if I want to take things like charcoal that tend to back me up as well. And but then, I'll do one and I'll be good for days and days and days in a row. So that's the sign. And over time, I'm noticing, like, when your colon gets that direct hit of niacin, it heals the holes that
Mm.
are there. I had a bile dump yesterday, and I noticed that it didn't go into my blood this time. Are those holes? I know. Like, that's so cool. I literally didn't get symptoms. I didn't get a headache. I didn't get snotty. I didn't get all of the kind of things that can happen when bile goes into your blood. And that's like, that's kind of a good change.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of fascia work, and man, that stuff is intense. I realize, like, oh boy, you really have to do you can't do it every day or every other day, even, because every time you're pressing deep or into any tissue, you are basically squeezing out I see our body as like this brilliant suitcase that knows how
Exactly.
to wrap things and keep them, kind of there until the hallways are clear. I kind of see like these hallways. I think Garrett said that once, that it's like this hallway that's all, cluttered full of stuff. And then the inner maids inside us are trying to keep up and go, oh, where do we put this stuff? So when you stop taking in all that stuff, the hallway isn't as cluttered, so the maids can go, let's check out this room, let's go in here and see what's in there. Oh my god, there's a drawer and there's stuff in the drawer. And they can slowly start to bring things out, and the key being slowly, at least I think for older people. So I'm kind of like, I feel like, I guess I'm the experiment on myself, is seeing, how does a person past 65 deal with this kind of thing. And again, it's just only only you can acknowledge to yourself, like, is this moving too fast or is it moving too slow? uh,
Yes.
without deluding myself. But when you have so much more scientific understanding, which this paradigm does provide, and it's the best thing that I've ever encountered in my 50 years of exploring this kind of stuff. um, then you have something that you can think about it yourself. You can start to put things together, and it's not just a belief. It's not just, oh, I have to have faith in this. You can try things. And that's what I like about this paradigm, is that there's an openness, but there's also, it's easy to close certain doors, which before I wouldn't be sure about. I'd be like, well, maybe I should explore this. But now I'm like, oh no, no, absolutely no need to
Right.
to go down the path of adding another poison
Right.
that
Right.
may have fantastic results, with so-called research papers, but we're all being slowly trained to be able to read these research papers. So it's harder to pull one, over the wool over our eyes. Um,
Exactly.
and there's always going to be more. I'm just expecting that Garrett's going to keep finding new things, as will you or me or Kelsey, that or the other people who are on this journey, because nothing is done. It's like we're constantly going to different levels. uh
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Before we get too far forward, I just wanted to uh, I will stop trying to pronounce your name, but apparently someone got a Nobel Prize for research on fasting. Well, first of all, I'm gonna go hyper skeptical. And who gets Nobel prizes? Are these the good guys? Are these the guys that are really on the cutting edge and doing something helpful for humanity, or are they the ones that the system is voting to be in the forefront? So that, to me, right away, is a tell of some kind, that he was funded to research starvation, which fasting is, and then proved autophagy. Yes, autophagy is real, but that the body shouldn't be eating itself.
Well,
That's not natural.
and but even if it's doing it naturally, well, it's not the body. I feel that we have every bacteria, fungus, whatever, are all around us, in us, And if there is something to be eaten, like dead tissue, let's say, then yeah, the body is constantly trying to clean itself.
The
You know,
body's trying to not die,
yeah, yeah,
and so it will eat garbage. Have you ever seen a sick rabid animal eat garbage off the street
right.
or eat their own feces, or that it's a really sad thing, but yeah, that's the body taking desperate measures.
Yeah, and so to call autophagy something, to take that philosophy and turn it into something like, oh yeah, this is good, just like saying that rocket fuel in breast milk is good because it is in breast milk. You know,
Right, right.
that
Yeah.
doesn't make it great.
Mhm.
Just because autophagy happens doesn't mean that it's something that we want to keep, inviting. And as the cells are renewing themselves all the time, they're dying and being reborn constantly. So that's a natural process that's going on inside us. So
Mhm.
it's not like we want to imitate the death process and speed it up.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
as if your body's not going to go through autophagy. It is. It's got that intelligence. It knows to get rid of the old and make the new. I wanted to address this next comment as well. I'm sorry for your friend, by the way, Mary, but you asked, how do you know when you have a bile dump? And this is a really important question. It was hard for me to understand at the beginning when I was first interviewing Garrett. When he said bile dump, I would say, like, yay, right? Like, that sounds good. You want to dump the toxic bile and get it out. But what was not part of the picture then was the fact that people's guts are full of holes, that as the bile accumulates toxicity over the lifetime, it becomes more and more toxic. They talk about a bile recipe. It literally eats its way through the holes of the biliary tubes that connect your gallbladder to the liver. It eats right through the colon, the small intestine. And so the bile dump is referring to when the bile gets out of the gut that could otherwise handle toxic bile, and it gets into your blood, and then it goes everywhere willy-nilly. So it can the sign of a bile dump can be many things, but headaches, very classic. Earaches, classic. Eye infections,
or
classic.
or toothaches too. Toothache,
Toothaches, exactly.
joint pain, especially stiffness around the neck.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, body pain all over, exactly.
or
What we call a cold, the seasonal detox that everybody's been going through, the high speed snot out the nose or the coughing that goes on. Nausea is a bile dump. That's bile backing up into the stomach where it should not be. That's why you feel sick from it. And so, yeah, those are all signs that your body is not coping with the bile that it has. There's a certain amount, in fact, like 95% of the bile recirculates in the intrahepatic system. And then you want to be releasing down and out the other bile that actually stimulates your body to eject, which is kind of gross talk, but whatever. I'm learned to talk about poop here, I tell you.
yeah, you gotta go there.
Yeah, one of the gifts. And hello, Veronica Schwartz. Nice to see you. So, yeah, I hope that makes sense. Emil, good to have you here. He says one should never fast unless they have a certain level of vitality to begin with. Also, yeah, like that was a very bad call when I was in trouble myself, and then I started fasting. It was, oh man, talk about disappearing act. It was really freaky. People with sleep nervous issues should also think twice about fasting until they get those under control. Yeah, yeah, I do not recommend it. And it's a good cure to cancer, arthritis, and many diseases caused by the accumulation of toxicity. If you're still talking about fasting, I'll say no, absolutely not. It's not a good cure for those diseases. It stops the cure, it stops your body from detoxing. You detox with food. You need certain nutrients to detox. For example, if you have vitamin A you're consuming. Do you know the biochemistry really well on this one, Dagmar? What iterations the vitamin A has to go through, including like it stores as esters?
Yeah, yeah, no, I don't know it
Okay,
offhand.
I
No.
keep meaning
But
to
it
learn.
is, but each reiteration in a way gets more toxic. And it's also dependent on the kind of bacteria that you have, which can then make it even more toxic, you know. So it's not a it's you know it's not for the faint of heart.
Indeed,
And
indeed.
you do have to know that you're on a journey. I think probably only when you're older, but I think maybe younger people have an easier time with it. There's more leeway, you know, the body can handle a lot more, less has been stored. um, yeah.
Yeah, I've watched some younger people that I work with at a farm, and they're going through and not having any dramatic effects because they weren't that toxic to begin with. It's just a good adaptation that they've made early. Like, I look at my son, he's only intoxed for 18 years. Well, it's really different, right? Like he's starting to notice now. He's starting to discriminate that when he eats certain things, he feels terrible. And it's like, okay, so that's good. I hope that doesn't mean he's more toxic. This is interesting. Emil said, did you want to say something, Dagmar?
Well, I was just thinking about Dr. Chafee, you know, who's the carnivore guy. He just eats muscle meat and water and salt. And for someone like him, he became aware in medical school. He was told by one of his professors that plants are basically poisoning us, and he stopped at a very young age eating all these poisons. So for him, you know, it's a whole different experience. He's not on this diet, but he's on a carnivore diet, which basically means he's not taking any fiber. So wherever he started it at, that's where he's kind of going to stay there. Um, so it's interesting. You know, your history really does matter, and your parents' history. You know, I just found out that my mother had what do you call it? Jaundice. What's the word in English? Hepatitis, when she was pregnant with my sister. And big difference between our temperaments. You know,
Mm,
certain things I never put together, and I looked at my past, you know, what happened to me emotionally throughout my life and how my diet changed during those times and what I was, you know, consuming at that time. It affects your whole being, you know.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
But go on, what were you going to say?
I was just going to address this, that Emil's saying people need to keep in mind the therapies are not lifestyles. And that's a really good point, because
Mm.
should you need to be on your therapy continuously, then it's not working. Right? That's the idea about a therapy. You do it, you take it. That's one of the things that is unique to Garrett Smith's approach, is that when people get on, say, a supplement, they might need a certain amount of zinc, selenium, molybdenum, whatever it is. They might need a lot more at the beginning. And then as they detox, they need less and less. Why? Because your body's not needing those nutrients to move out the poisons. So then that's a really good testament to the fact that it's working, and way better than those that would say, oh, you're going to need to be on this for the rest of your life, which is the case with most drugs, right? When you go on something, the doctors tend to say, oh, you'll probably have to stay on that sleeping pill, or you'll have to keep taking your blood pressure medication
Your
into infinity. Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, that's a sign that it doesn't work. And hello, quietly content bear. Nice to see you here. And Mary said, I think that claim that it's a cure is because they're not ingesting anything which includes the poison. Exactly. Yeah. Which we mentioned earlier about fasting. Yeah. They're not intoxing. So there is a certain magic to that, especially if you have a very toxic diet. So let's see. I wanted to just go back and quickly address something you were talking about, the fascial stuff. And there was a very big trend of deep tissue massage, to
Mhm.
go to a practitioner and let them beat the crap out of you.
Mhm.
So I've always been one of those that when people do that, when I get on someone's table and they start really muscling in and digging into my body, I'm like, no, no, that hurts. Get away from me. I'm gonna hurt you too, kind of thing. In fact, the last time I had a massage, I came away with, I at some point I said, you know what? Do you think this pain is helping me? And I was in a really vulnerable place. I was sick, and Mexico, and they sent this angel, and what ended up happening, I got so enlightened to this, and it made me realize why I have avoided massage therapy. I literally just psychologically, I didn't go because I don't want to argue with them about their tools and their techniques and everything like that. And I don't want to have to say to them back off 27 times during a single massage because they don't know how to do it. And so I was just like, no, it's just a no. I'm just not going to do that. And then it was Garrett told me, because after that massage, I felt way worse.
Mm-hmm.
What did she cause? A bile dump. And
Yeah.
and I was already having an exaggerated bile dump. I was already very, very sick to a point of fever.
Yeah.
So she comes in and made it way worse. But the belief is that she made it way better. So she projected back on me that I must have so much trauma and so much grief, and I must be so damaged
I've
that
had the
her
same
healing.
the same experience, and I didn't know it then. I know it now. Where
Yeah.
I literally had somebody do this very specialized deep tissue work in Los Angeles, and 2 minutes after she finished doing deep tissue work, I started to burp nonstop. I had like a major, I didn't know it then. I bloated. I had a major bile dump that lasted like 4 weeks.
Oh my
And
God.
I couldn't eat anything. I had no idea what was going on. But she, by going deep into the hip, which is where I had all kinds of accumulations, right? Because I was doing raw milk and all this kind of stuff at the time, and I had no idea what was happening to me. I mean, normal person would have gone to the hospital, but I could not stand up straight. I couldn't eat. I could hardly walk. I had no, and it was like the dump of dumps. Now, if I had known what I know now, it would have been gone in a day or two. But then it was just like, what the heck is going on? You know?
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, no, I was so glad to hear that, now I go to an osteopath, and she's so gentle, sometimes I can barely tell that she's touching me. It's really subtle, almost a little bit too subtle, might like a little bit more just obvious something around, I don't know, doing something. But it's just way better, and it very clearly puts me in a healing state, and I've seen energy move. She just touched one place around my gut yesterday, and my whole leg starts to shimmer with blood flow. There's this, like she said, it can create a vascular reaction, and it was just like aliveness in my body happened because she was in the right spot. And it's very gentle, and I didn't feel like kicking her after. It was perfect. Man, I was left with a lot of anger about that. Going against my own instincts. This is what happens, right? I deferred to her belief that this is what I needed. And then, yeah, so I I actually got traumatized by that.
It's so common that when people get a massage and then they're lying down, that they get all stuffy and congested, and nobody talks about like what the heck is that about, you know? It's like everything gets stimulated and you start to, all your sinuses and everything starts to dump.
Mhm, mhm. Exactly,
But but,
exactly.
but you think, oh, this is also good for me.
Right, right, exactly. Okay, so let's see if there's anything else. Here we go. What was I going to talk about? We kind of passed by juicing. That was a very big craze that everybody needed to get the $800 juicer. By the way, does anyone want to buy an $800 juicer? I'm now selling mine.
The only thing the juicer is still good for that I occasionally use it for is when I juice some ginger and I mix tiny bit of ginger with like a big jar of honey, and I keep that in the refrigerator and it lasts for years in case I ever have a really big bile dump and I need something. So I just, put that, drink a little bit of that, but that's about it.
There you go.
No,
Yeah.
it's that. Remember that it's that medical medium guy that everybody started listening to when he put out the thing about celery juice. I remember in Los Angeles, you could not get celery in all Whole Foods were out of celery because everybody was buying it to juice, including yours truly. Uh,
Mhm.
and it's disgusting, but you convince yourself. And that's, I think Garrett described that really well about our how addictive we are, that we can make the worst tasting thing seem like it's okay, it's fine, because in case there's nothing else to eat. So we can get used to eating bitter, disgusting, poisonous things because it's better to eat than not to eat.
Yes, exactly.
Because
Yeah,
we don't want to starve.
that's
We so don't want to starve that we will eat all kinds of things that are not even delicious. So yeah, the
yeah.
juicing thing, that was a killer for me. And I kept doing it, and I just kept, and every time I go by a store that would, make juice for you, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna get some because it's full of minerals and full of potassium, and but it was just loaded with carotenoids and oxalates, which was, one of the pathways that led me to this was the the poisons in the plants.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was in the green cult. I had the and this was sort of self-generated in a way. I just decided that everything green was good. Chlorophyll was like blood, and that I'm taking that in. And yeah, I would juice, a head of cilantro or a bunch of cilantro, a bunch of parsley, a bunch of dill. Dill turns out to be
They
not
remove heavy metals. Cilantro removes heavy metals.
exactly, and it's kind of the other way around. That stuff is chock full of copper, you guys. Oh my goodness. That's another big cult, is that copper is a nutrient. But yeah, the greens, I just couldn't get enough green vegetables and stuff enough green vegetables down my kid's throat. And the interesting part that can be really deceiving is that poisons are stimulants.
Hmm.
Right? Whether it's greens or stimulants, because I would literally get high on my green juice,
Hmm.
and I feel like, "Oh, wow, energy. I'm alive now. I'm really doing this good thing." I didn't realize my body's being poisoned and is setting off the endorphins to protect me from the pain of the toxicity,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, the endorphin high.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's a big part of my platform, is to teach people the difference between high and aware, that they're
Mm.
really different. And
Hmm.
we're addicted to the high, and the aware can be almost invisible in the face of being high, which is a much more like, big experience, so to speak, or gross experience. I don't mean bad, just big.
Gross.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so those greens, I'm so happy I don't have to chase the greens. It
Oh
was
my
always a pain in
God.
the neck, right? Like grocery stores in the winter here, it was the
Oh,
bleakest greens. And yeah, I'd be eating that awful stuff because I felt like I needed it. And then I would go and graze in my garden. I just I couldn't eat enough lettuce for breakfast. And the, it was the years after I was gardening and doing that as a lifestyle, being in my garden every morning, that I had the major breakdown. So, yeah, that clearly wasn't working for me.
and all that time and money saved, because I used to grow tomatoes too, but then I would peel them and remove the seeds. And then all this energy, finally, when I liberated myself of that whole, like, oh, I'm going to grow my own food. Like, I'll grow food for the animals to eat so they can eat the food and clean the food for me through their liver, and then of course not eat their liver, which I used to also do, liver pills and all of that. I mean, like,
Did you? Yeah.
love having an empty refrigerator, or not like, but just not full of every, eat the rainbow. And I no longer have the rainbow of vegetables and fruits in my refrigerator. It's just so much more spacious and elegant and easy to have your everyday life, your everyday preparation for eating.
The summer was like hell for me because we would have access to all the fresh vegetables and fruits in a way we don't in the winters here. And so my fridge, I literally would have to put my foot on the door sometime to get it to shut. And like just the chaos of all of this copious amounts of produce all the time. So yeah, I echo that. Now I have a relatively empty fridge, and it's a beautiful thing because when I put stuff in there, there's room.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, space is good. Space is good. It goes against our, because part of the starvation threat is that we should prep and we should have, great big full pantry or garage full of canned goods. And I've been scrambling to eat my preps because there's like you look at the thing and it's like, oh yeah, expired. Oh, expired. Another can expired, and it does matter. Sure, sure, you probably could eat it in 25 years, but what's it gonna be like? Is that gonna be food of any kind anymore?
If anybody wants any sardines, oh God,
Oh,
I
no.
I collected sardines and salmon from like this really cool company, most sustainably, caught and all this and wild and I'm like, oh my God, what do I do with these? If there's ever any need to feed the neighborhood, I can do that.
Yes, yes, exactly. I was pretty happy that I had, prepped the black beans because they're pretty easy to get organic and in cases at Costco and stuff like that. So luckily, me and black beans get along really well. I know they're not the best of the love your liver top of the top, but for some reason I get along with them. We grew a bunch of beans and dried them. I'm actually going to get them today. They're going to bring a bunch. I bet they're not shelled, so I might have some work ahead of me, to say the least. But yeah, Elisa said one girl and a weekly CSA feels like being a scullery maid for sure. Do you know what that is? Scullery maid? A kitchen bitch? Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
love the term. Who said that? Scullery maid. I haven't heard that in a long time.
Yeah, yeah. I used to affectionately call myself a kitchen slave. And
Mm,
this is another massive benefit of going through the Love Your Liver, being in a love your liver approach to food, is that it's effortless. Oh my goodness. There's a more pre-thinking because I want to eat protein first thing in the day. And if I don't have some leftover protein from the day before, then I've got to start getting some out of the freezer or getting some fresh meat and the cooking and all that kind of stuff. But if I plan a little bit, then my meals are minutes to prepare. I'll make a bunch and freeze a bunch because it's just instant to get it out. And now instead of having 9 vegetables on one plate, I will have asparagus, or I'll get really fancy and do asparagus and celery together, or celery and parsnips, which are all low vitamin A, by the way, vegetables. And it's just so much simpler. You've got 3 things. You got a meat, and you got a carbohydrate, and you got a vegetable, and it's done.
See, I've even eliminated the vegetables, so mine is even faster because it's just pretty much just the fiber and the protein.
Right, right. Yeah, I'm not sure if I habituated myself because I've been like Olympic vegetable eater, and I do seem to do better with some vegetables of the right kind. So go figure. Yeah, yeah, it's just how it goes. So a simple life is a easier, happier life. It's true. You just have more time.
Yeah.
And you're not behind the 8 ball. And my gourmet taste always worked against me because I would have to have so many ingredients in every single meal, never mind just the cooking, but then once you go to eat, and how many different condiments am I going to need to sprinkle and spread and jazz up and
So
fire up.
did you see that when you started eating this way, did you like clear tons of kitchen space and remove all your spices? For me, that was huge. Just removing, like, I have so much more space. And in my bathroom too, removing all my essential oils and all that. Just look at the ingredients. I'm like, oh my God, I don't need this.
Mhm, mhm. There's another cult with the essential oils. I feel very sad even to bring this up, but people are totally married to it, and
Yeah,
they built whole stores around it, and they've built their whole
more.
healing career around them. Yeah.
And
Yeah, and this is a place where this natural cult is very prominent because we know that the chemical fragrances are poison, like 100%, or at least most people in the natural world do. Although the interesting part is that they often thought a an oil was natural when I would know full well by my reaction that it wasn't natural, because I could tolerate natural fragrances for some reason, even though they're not good for you, I could still tolerate them. You could cover me in that stuff and I wouldn't get symptoms that I remember. But so there's so many products that you don't have any idea what they really are by the time they hit a shelf. And
oh,
yeah, and
go ahead.
and then and just the natural essential oils are basically aldehydes, right?
Yeah, they
In the
are.
family of formaldehyde. And what are other aldehydes? I don't know off
I
by
mean,
heart.
they're volatile organic compounds. Yes, they're natural. Volatile organic compounds, the same things that are in all kinds of paints and things that you don't, that are warnings on, right? But because they smell pleasant, everybody's like, no problem. Just I used to put on lavender oil just to keep the mosquitoes off, and I thought, oh, just put it on my skin. I mean, I'm so happy to be done with that. But
Mm.
man, I have like hundreds, and I still haven't thrown them away. I'm keeping them for bartering or something, and because I'm assuming they won't go bad. But there's just so many things that I don't need. Like when I travel now, so much easier. Before I'd have all my supplements, big 2 bags, and now it's just like, potassium, magnesium, and some
Exactly.
ice, and yeah.
Nice. Yeah, the simplicity. And then so Kariman, did I get it right this time? 11 is asking about cannabis oil. So cannabis is a whole thing, and this is definitely part of the natural health cult that has been put out as the healing thing. And that's, you always hear this, that there's, oh, save this little girl's life, and there's this massive big result of some kind going on. Personally, I did use cannabis oil. There was one time when my insomnia was just horrendous and I was desperate. In the middle of the night, I'm like, cannabis oil or CBD's oil. And I went and I got it. It did absolutely nothing for me. And Garrett Smith has a live stream particularly on the poison nature of cannabis. So if we have any idea that it is a good substance because it's natural, it's full of stuff. Now, I haven't studied it that much. Do you have anything more you want to say on that?
Um, I mean, I've dabbled in it. I've used like cannabis, very condensed, to put on this like a mosquito bite, and it worked. But now it worked, but it always felt just the taste of it and all that. I prefer the zinc niacin salve, which
Right.
does it so much better, and it feels like it's actually healing something, that it's not just suppressing.
Right, right. Yeah, that's probably why cannabis oil tends to work. I'm not meaning to make people out to be like they're not telling the truth or something like that, but the chances are that it's more about suppressing your symptoms. And that's again something that people tend to need to be on for their whole life. I know someone who will have grand mal seizures without cannabis, and they need to consume cannabis every single day of their life in order to avoid the seizures. So it's not healing,
Yeah.
right? It's not a healing thing. It's a what Garrett calls a band-aid.
Yeah, it's the same thing like with all the butter that I kept eating. I was just loading up on retinol, and I had to keep eating it to maintain my youthful appearance. And yeah, it definitely worked. But when I stopped all that and allowed my body to do what it's been wanting to do, but instead of kicking the can down the road, that it would happen in 5 years or 10 years, I'm kind of like dealing with, you know, what my body going like, oh, where's my fix?
Mhm, mhm.
And at the same time, it's going, oh my God, this is so great. Uh, and things are changing. They definitely are changing. I've just so many things that I used to consider were normal are gone.
I know how many things you even forget to mention them if somebody says, like, "How are you doing?" You don't even bring up certain
Yeah,
things. It's just like, "Oh, it's always been like that, so I went into apathy about it."
yeah, yeah. And
Maybe mm,
just emotionally though, what to me that was my focus for ever doing any diet of any sort, was because I wanted to be strong enough to be able to move a lot of feeling through me, because I'm an actor and a writer, and I do a lot of, it's a processing a lot of emotion moving through me. You can't just be, you have to be strong. I have to have a strong instrument. That's the only reason I was ever, searching for this kind of stuff. And I'm finding I'm going to use that word, the resilience, but I have found that my body is just stronger emotionally, that I can carry so much more, that going through something, a moving emotion through me, if I'm working on a part or something, it's it hardly, it just feels like, oh, and I'm right back. It's not like before. I'd have to do a lot of recovery and do all kinds of things to get myself, back. But so, it's the emotional body. We don't talk about it. We talk about our body, but we don't talk about, like, where do we have feelings? How do we feel them? Can we feel in all of our body, or are we just feeling somewhere in our head? And I think that the less poison, or the less um, whatever, the less of the things that our body doesn't want we have, the better off we are, the more room there is, like the room in the refrigerator. I feel like that's what's happening with this paradigm and this way of living, is that more room is being made, in my body, but also in my emotional and in my psychic field. It feels like it's stronger than it's ever been. Like, it's easier to be who I am, like to be myself. Yeah, so I'm really grateful.
amazing. That's beautiful. Yeah, I noticed that the work that I do in deprogramming, so it's not the same as you know, evoking emotions necessarily, but it has a very strong emotional component because we got those, and most people are suppressing them. And the healthier the liver is, the easier it is to do the work. Right, so and I can see it when I go into periods where I've dumped bile and I have to contend with that for a few days or a week or sometimes longer. It has been, although I've been doing amazing, touch wood. So far, I found a really good pace for myself. Then it's exponentially different. It is much harder to find a program and to release it when you're not well. And I've seen this in a lot of people that as they decline, and especially when their liver is part of the decline, because I've seen a variety of people die now, unfortunately, and it seems like the liver is always the last thing to become cancerous or to become cirrhotic or to become something, that is now considered more than silent disease, but according to the medical system. And their whole state of mind degrades, and they get angry and they get bitter, and they're unreasonable. You can't even, have a normal exchange or appeal to any logic or rationality in the process. They go crazy, right? There's a certain kind of crazy when liver toxicity is over the top.
That's the word lunatic, because during the full moon, apparently we tend to dump more copper. And so people act like lunatics. But just think of the word liver. It's the one who lives. He's the liver. She's the liver of life. I mean, there's a reason why that word has the word live in it. Um, there's something very powerful, and it's like it's hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, the liver, they should have called the liver the heart, so to speak. I just noticed, by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt, but people are saying my mic is low.
Yeah, occasionally it does kind of go a little muffled and then it comes back.
Really, eh? Okay, I'm going to make a little manual adjustment here because all my settings are good. Let me know if this improves it. Hello, hello, hello. Is that any better or
Yeah,
even a bit more? It
yeah,
might,
it
it
is.
might, it is better. Okay, maybe that got knocked or something like that. Thanks, Jackie. I appreciate that. And there was one question that we skipped past, so I want to go back to this. Elisa is asking, could you expand on your magnesium and zinc potassium process to get it from food if that's possible? You want to go first on this, Dagmar?
Mm, yeah, the magnesium from food, I don't think it's possible. Not the amounts that I seem to need. I'm just experimenting now with magnesium pidolate. And the zinc, I could see, if you are eating a lot of red meat, I could see that that's possible to get through food. And potassium too, but then you have to eat a lot of bananas and coconut water. Um, but the magnesium, I feel like that one to build my magnesium stores is my challenge because I can't believe how much I need. And the transdermal magnesium, I think, is the most potent. And I'm recently started doing transdermal magnesium and potassium, which hopefully maybe when Kelsey's on, you can have her talk more about that. But that's really pretty awesome is to put the potassium with the magnesium and absorb it through the skin. Um,
Yeah, I was doing that as well. What's your recipe on that? Because I think I'm being creative on this. Was it like half a cup of magnesium chloride? By the way, do not use Epsom salts.
yeah.
That's magnesium sulfate. You don't want sulfates. This is very, very hard for people to understand that sulfur, and I've got this on the list, is not a nutrient. It's a toxin.
Yeah. You mean the magnesium that I do in the lotion?
No, or yeah, like the magnesium potassium
Yeah, so
oil that you make.
basically, Kelsey's formula was you take the regular Nutrition Detective lotion, and then you put a tablespoon of magnesium chloride, but you first put some warm water, not boiling, but like warm water, and you let it melt, and then you get it all kind of melty, the minimum amount of water you need, and then you pour that into the bottle, and you shake it up, and it works beautifully. I
Oh,
love.
okay. I hadn't considered that. Yeah, I was making my own oil with a half a cup of magnesium chloride, 1 cup of water, hot water, by the way, so that it would actually dissolve because sometimes it doesn't dissolve. And
Mhm.
then a tablespoon, but I think I jacked it up to 2 tablespoons of potassium chloride in there, and it dissolved really nicely. So I have very high potassium needs because I have a lot of copper toxicity, which is going down miraculously after about 14 months. I know, it's amazing. I noticed a difference. It's called good sleep every night.
Mhm.
Right, years and years and years of insomnia, both a potassium deficiency and a copper toxicity they're very related because your body can't detox the copper without using potassium, and it kicks potassium out of your cells, making it look on a blood test that you have tons of potassium or too much potassium, but you don't have it where you need it.
Right.
That's the big problem around that. So yeah, the food sources of potassium, like Dagmar already said, potassium, the bananas, the coconut water, also green kiwis, but they're high in oxalates, so you don't want that every day. Also, potatoes high in potassium, but they're nightshades. You don't want that every day because that'll bring about some toxicity as well over time.
And
And
don't, one just thing about kiwis, don't ever blend your kiwis because the blending of a kiwi could land you in the hospital. It has some people because that's when you really release all the oxalates.
from the
So,
seed, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I was experimenting with de-seeding a kiwi. Can't be done.
I know. Yeah.
I can do it. I can do it.
Yeah, you just end up with a tiny piece of.
Just the shell mostly. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I stopped eating those things after Jackie and you, Dagmar, told me. So, is the audio better, by the way? Can you guys let me know in the chat if that sounds better to you guys? I don't know why that could have happened. And Sam, nice to see you. I'm glad you're here. Did I say that liver is the last one to get cancer? I can't speak to that being everybody, but I have noticed in just this is sheer anecdotal experience on my part that now, first of all, they don't register liver disease because it's possible the liver was sick and cancerous long before, but because your liver is taking the whole weight of all of the, it's like your last line of defense. And so you're probably not going to know it. That's why they coined the term in medical systems, silent liver disease. The only way you could really tell would be liver biopsies, which are gory. Nobody wants that. And so, yeah, it seems to be, the diagnosis of liver cancer seems to be at the end, and then they're gone. They're not going to be around very long at all. But
I'm
yeah.
curious, Beth. Do you have names of some of the cultish diets that you've been on? Like, do you have like a progression, like, the last 20 years? Like, well, how did it start and where did it end? What were you doing right before you got to this one, to this paradigm?
Oh boy, it's kind of endless, I guess. I developed a fascination before I started to travel to the East, India and Nepal in particular.
Now your sound is getting muffled.
Really?
For a
What
second, you did, yeah.
on? Kind of pissed off. I yeah, didn't change anything.
Okay, but keep going.
Okay.
It's back now.
Okay, good. Yeah, so then I got fascinated with herbal medicine, and I picked up, and I was, going to India, and I studied with some Ayurvedic physicians there, and I would buy all the herbs in the markets and the little blue pills that they sold in their Ayurvedic pharmacies. That's amazing that I would take. Like, first of all, I probably poisoned myself on the color alone, right? And I would see the name and I would look it up in my little book and I'm like, yeah, that's for me. I'm going to take so much of it. I'm going to like take 9 and 12 and 15 pills at one time. And then over the 8 trips to India, my health degraded. The reason I think the real catalyst was I got a lot of vaccinations before I left for my first trip. They shot me up with the hepatitis B and the hepatitis C, and I don't know, I probably had 9 shots over a couple of months before I left, and so I got sick before I left. I already was degraded in my health. And then when I was away, I got sick all the time. I, at the time, would have explained it that I got every cold or every microbe in the water, or, I just was constantly battling something, as many people were there. And that's when I junked out on their medicine. I also was at the time, I wasn't a full on natural health nut yet. So I did lots of their antibiotics that are banned in North America, but they still get to sell them in India. So I doubly ruined my system. And when I got back from India the first time, I was so sick in my gut. No doctor could help me. They wanted to give me more antibiotics. By that time, I'm going like, no, it's a no. I knew it wasn't going to help me. And I got a healing short term by eating nothing but organic food. So, along the same love your liver principle of just reducing the toxicity of the food enabled my body to go through a healing process. It wasn't done, but that was a really good thing. And yeah, what else did I go through? I avoided. I think there's many more than I avoided. One was the alkaline diet.
Oh God, yes, I did the alkaline diet too.
Yeah.
Alkalinize or Die. Remember that book?
Yep.
Yeah,
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 exactly. And so, yeah, before I was formally diagnosed with cancer, I would try to be alkaline, take alkalizing. That was like the green was all alkaline,
yeah.
green foods. And I consumed quite a bit of salt because that was something that I assumed disease was caused by acidity and cancer was caused by acidity and all of that kind of thing. I remember bringing it up with my naturopath. This is one thing very much to his credit. And I said, "Oh, the alkaline diet, it's the cure for cancer." And he says, "Beth, all my patients die on it." Like this. And I'm like, "Oh, but what's your point?" So luckily, he could see through it, and he knew this is something I feel very grateful to have learned early, that the pH of the body is very sophisticated.
Mm-hmm.
The pH of your mouth is not the pH of your esophagus, is not the pH of your stomach, is not the pH of your colon, is not the pH of your musculature or your eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we see this in the buffering of niacin nicotinic acid, that you need different proportions depending on if you're going to put it here or you're going to put it up, right? Because you've got different parts of your body that you're trying to accommodate. And even then, it's a little bit of a moving target guessing game. So to think that acid is bad, and this is a major fallacy of the natural health world, that something's good and something's bad, right?
Yeah, and
Yes.
that it's one thing, that it's the one cause, one solution approach that has gotten me many times. I think, oh, it's just this one thing. Oh, I have a deficiency of oregano oil, or it's my acidity. That's my problem. That's the only thing I have to address. Everything is about, because I used to give those lectures to friends, be like, oh, nothing, no bacteria, fungus, or parasite can survive in an alkaline environment. It's all about the terrain. And I was like spewing this stuff off, and oh man, I was so wrong. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, people did listen to me. So I have a lot of karma to clean up. Uh,
Well, good for you though, Dagmar, because the vast majority of people will not turn around and say, I was wrong. They might change their tune, but they're
Mhm.
not going to say that they were wrong, right? They're going to try to avoid the humiliation of that.
Yeah, and I think that's very good. That sense of knowing that, I had not a positive effect on people, not to beat myself up over it, but to just acknowledge, like, yeah, that was part of something that I'm not proud of. And I try to make up for it. Um,
Mhm.
best that I know. But one thing I just want to address, what you were saying about the whole India thing. It never really occurred to me, and it's kind of obvious now that you say it, because I know everyone who goes to India, they tell me how incredibly sick they get, and sometimes how long it lasts. And I mean, most people who go to India must get vaccinated.
Right. Hey, you know what? We shouldn't use that word. Let's say jabbed, just in case that gets me a strike. Yeah, yeah,
Okay, yeah, yeah. So,
yeah.
most people get jibby jabbed, and so the conditions, and you go from the poison of the jibby jab to the poison of the crazy high A and oxalate diet that is the Indian diet. I mean, and not
I
just
know.
it. I mean, you go from that to, so maybe, and people make it seem like, oh, it's these parasites. I don't know. I think I'm just thinking now, like, wow, that there's a pattern there, that it's the, yeah, yeah, that it's the beginning of the poisoning. If somebody is not used to having a lot of poisons in their body and suddenly they get nine, um, that's quite a strain on the system, especially if you're like an undertype like you are, because you don't.
I wasn't then. No,
Oh, yeah.
I didn't. I turned into another type in after 2020 when I stopped eating. Actually, that's when that happened, because I always used to be just slightly over. That was where I would err. Yeah, I was going to say that in those days, just around, say, like the regret or shame and all that kind of stuff, what I remember is that no one would take my advice. When I was spouting off the natural health stuff, my family didn't want to hear it. Friends didn't want to hear it. Nobody listened to me. Well, now I'm so grateful
Yeah, that's
because
awesome.
I was wrong, right? And then I also never went into health coaching. So grateful I didn't do that.
So grateful I never did that either. Oh my God.
Yeah,
That
I
was,
could have. Yeah, I was. Yep.
yeah.
Stacy Sunshine says your face will tell you when your liver is overworking. Yep, your skin is a very big tell, whether it's on your face or anywhere else in your body. About
Well, but here's the thing, there's a catch to that,
yeah,
because my liver was way overworking and I looked fantastic.
and you had perfect skin,
Yeah,
right?
I had perfect
Yeah,
skin. Always, always.
yeah,
Now I'm breaking out.
yeah,
But I kept that away. Now the stuff is coming out. So I
right.
feel I'm reliving teenagehood that I never had. But that's okay, you know. I'm This is so good to just like get over the, you know, the vanity part of it all,
Yeah.
which I think is healthy for no matter what you're doing, you know, is to just embrace where we are. Um, but Go on. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh,
Go
that's okay. Yeah, and it's actually really well said, Stacey, that your liver is overworking, meaning, if the poison's coming out your skin, it means that your liver's not handling the level of poison. And so like exact I want to emphasize what you said, Dagmar, because it can go both ways. When you have no symptoms, it doesn't necessarily mean you're healthy. It means you're not detoxing.
on. Hmm.
And then the detox, people get all excited in the natural health world. They're like, oh, I'm detoxing, it's so beautiful, I love this snot coming out and the big marks on my face or whatever it is. And that's not a good sign. That means your gut's full of holes and the bile's in the blood. Right. So I just, this appeal to the romance of detoxing. It's like, no, it's it's okay and it's happening. You don't want to sit there and be afraid of it, but it
Hmm.
actually damages. And that's why it hurts. Your brain hurts because it's being poisoned. There were
Yeah.
times in Mexico last year, I swear the poison made holes in my head. There were places I couldn't feel after. The level of pain that I went through on those bile dumps was horrendous. So it is it is nuanced. People say, "Oh, I haven't had a cold for 25 years." And it's like you might be a bomb waiting to go off,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? My mom never ever got a cold or a flu when we were growing up. And then she ends up with full-on cancer and dies at 74, right? 20 years earlier than her mother. Holy mackerel,
Wow.
right? So she couldn't it would might have been better off with a few colds or flus.
Well,
Deep.
and she was probably maybe also carrying her mother's toxicity, you know,
Right.
as it does get passed on generationally, which is so misleading because we think, well, what do you mean? Grandpa smoked till he was 90, you know, but then the children are getting, you know, the pesticides from the cigarettes, whatever, are being passed down to the next generation through the mother, you know. So
Mhm.
it's so misleading. You think like, well, what do you mean? You know, like people think that every child comes in fresh, newborn with nothing, no toxicity, just, you know, happy, healthy baby. And no, it's like we are, on the one hand, we're standing on each other's shoulders from generation to generation in terms of how we survive and what we learn and how we grow. And on the other hand, we're also standing under each other's feet, you know, like how we've inherited the weaknesses or the poisonings of that generation. Like they may
Exactly.
have survived to 90. If they weren't doing some of those things, they may have lived to 120. You know, that, so whenever people say, well, she lived to be 95, I'm like, okay, great. You know,
Yeah.
if that's I do think that we probably are meant to live a lot longer, just like all animals in the animal kingdom. They live, you can calculate, if you multiply the not at the age at which um, uh, uh, a being matures, like when women start to menstruate, and you multiply that, I believe, by 7, then that should be the age that most things in the wild do live until. And we're the only exception. And domestic animals, even though my cats live to be in their late 20s and 30, uh, only because I fed them raw meat, raw muscle meat. That was their main. You know, they might have lived longer if I didn't give them liver and other organs. But still, you know, so I just think that it's all, on the one hand, we have to envision what's possible. And on the other, we have to also embrace where we are,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know, in the world. Like you said in the beginning, that none of us is living a natural life. You
Mhm.
know, we're far from it. So we're, it's like, how do we find our way to still enact some of those things that we do need, like sunshine and movement, and community, you know, which is
Mhm.
you're doing it on Zoom. I mean, you created the House of Free Will, which is people from, like Maya is in Ireland, so we have like creating a sense of community. It's, but it's weird without smelling each other. We're not in the same, and we can't watch each other. We can't like be like, oh, I'm watching you eat something and then I see if you get sleepy or not. You learn that way too, by having a lot of people that you can witness in their everyday life. But that's not where we are. That's just not going to happen. I
Yeah.
keep thinking like, can we create real life communities? And every community I've ever visited or tried to, think like, can I participate in this? They always fall apart somehow. It becomes some kind of a weird thing because we're trying to live outside of what's happening in the world. Like we want to participate in what is right now. Anyway, I didn't mean to go off on that
That's
track.
okay. Yeah, a whole other topic, but I just wanted to answer Sam's question. Were they mandatory for travel? There was a few of them. A few. I'll have to say no, actually, because the other years I didn't get them. Maybe because I had them. I think the one was it. Couldn't have been malaria because there's no jab for that. That's medication. That's so poisonous. Never take that stuff, by the way, for malaria. Wow. I got so sick. I went to take a pill one day and I was shaking as I went to take it and I went, I don't think I want this like this. So yeah, I can't remember. I think they might have been. I was certainly scared into it. And I hope you're joking and being facetious about that. That's kind of a weird thing to be, and that would be more facetiousness coming on here, I'm praying.
Oh,
And
definitely facetiousness. Yes, I hope.
yeah, must be, must be. It's very hard to read on screen, by the way. If you do a lot of that kind of thing, it's almost impossible to know without asking if people are being sarcastic or whatever. But yeah, jabs are what travelers get sick from. Exactly. That's the big thing. I mean, it's supposed to supposedly be protecting you, but that's the upside down world. Oh, yeah. This is another natural health cult, Mr. Sam, around the ayahuasca. And we had a good chat yesterday. I don't know if you caught that with Joel Schaefer. And we talked about psychedelics and ayahuasca. I would put in that category. The reason they affect you is because they're poisoning you. I had a natural health boyfriend, and that's exactly what he said. And he knew tricks for the remedies, and they would make me sick. Most people, what do? Barf their brains out on ayahuasca. It's not a pleasant thing. But then they've got the story of like, oh, well, you're so toxic. So then that medicine helped you to purge. And it's like, no, you're having an emergency.
You,
It's an emergency.
you're purging the medicine. You're not purging your toxins.
Right, right. Violently.
Hmm.
That's not good for you. What do you think happens to your whole esophagus when the bile backs up like that with the medicine? So yeah, there's again spiritual reasons. I think there can be a good context, but for your health, no, no.
Well, and it's not meant to be for everyone. From my understanding, it's the shaman of the village who basically sacrifices his nervous system for the village so he
Ah,
can have visions. So they feed him, they take care of him because he no longer has a functioning nervous system. He sacrifices himself to this world, and it's an honor and a sacred act that he's doing, but it's not meant for everyone, you know.
right.
And he's having the visions. Yes, of course, if you're on the verge of death, you're going to have a lot of visions too. And some people, yeah, I think there is a place for it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I think what I am saying is that it is so misguided to think that, somebody living in the city should go off to Peru and do these journeys and then come back here to this life, like that's going to do something.
Hmm,
I
hmm.
I feel that we need to earn our spiritual evolution, not just have it handed to us like that, because it's really, where's the transformation then, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I was a big fan. Like I literally had hunger for those journeys and it wasn't for the partying around it or the fun around it. The last trips I did alone on my own, it was always to go inward. And now I'm thinking about the liver, the damage of the liver and then the crazy visions. And really all, if I had to add it up, I'm not putting them down or anyone who is finding use in it, but mostly what I got was lessons. And it didn't do the lesson for me. It sent me away with the lesson. Like, okay, now go work on this. Now what you saw or what you realized or anything that opened up for you, now go make it real or act on it. Okay, now you know your problem. What are you going to do about it? The medicine's not going to ever do it for you. And that's what I noticed. People would be like every single weekend, they'd be going back to the ceremony, going back to the ceremony. And I think getting very stuck, never mind entities that I think it makes them attracted to you in that, because you have no discrimination. You're like wide open to all of the forces that be, and good, bad, and ugly. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah, no, I'm not judging anyone for doing it either.
Hmm.
But I have
Sure you
very strong feelings about knowing why you're doing it and not
are.
becoming like a weekend, like in LA and in Hawaii they have ayahuasca churches. That's what they call it. It's like a church. And they
Right.
people go there every weekend. And I think that anybody's free to destroy their own body if they want to, because there may be something really worthwhile there for them. They may really need to have that, whatever that journey brings. But
Mhm.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying, yeah.
No, that's a very good point about the shamans, that it wasn't for everyone, that they were sacrificing. And also this, the toad poison that Stacy's talking about. Now I'm putting a few things together, just lifetime here. When you injure the liver with a poison, it brings up your programming that says you're going to die. And it's partly because your body is going like, alert, alert, there's something going on here. And it is valuable to see the death programming, because most people suppress it. They don't see it. They don't feel it. They will say it's not there, just like, oh, I have no symptoms, therefore there's nothing wrong with me. And that can be true, but it might not be true. And so I think that's a big part of that
Hmm.
poisoning of yourself, that you think you gain some, but you don't need poison to bring up your death programming. I can scare you myself. Just kidding. I don't do that. I was just talking about and another thing is the sun speeds up detox. Really good awareness to have, that we say, oh, the sun is natural and it's good. And now I go for 5-minute tans, and I never burn anymore. I go for like, and I'm talking about tanning beds. There's nothing natural about a tanning bed at all. But do I do better for two seasons now, where I've been going for a tan at least once a week? Yes, way better. I now have a sauna blanket, Dagmar. I got a sauna blanket so I
Oh,
can sweat it out. Is there anything natural about that? No, nothing natural about that at all. But yep, so it's good to be very, very wise about the sun for that reason. Stacy said, I can tell your diet changed when you moved in with your mom 3 weeks ago because you have dry spots on your face in the liver kidney areas. Yeah. And hello on YouTube, the vertical version. Greetings to you as well. It's funny because they have two streams and two chats, and you guys aren't seeing each other. That's why I get confused on other people's streams. Like, where are the people? I seem to be here and they're somewhere else. So take on honey. Yeah. This one in general, added sweeteners not recommended. Because why? The main thing, aldehydes, right? Do they not turn into aldehydes in the body?
well, it's the pollen. The pollen is high A,
Okay. Yeah. If
and
anyone here doesn't
high
know,
oxalate, and high oxalate too.
honey is a high oxalate.
The pollen. So not
Oh,
every honey is the same.
yeah.
If it's
Okay.
a high pollen honey, yeah. If it's not, like, you can tell some honey, if it's truly also not really raw and has been cooked or put into hot bottles. I can tell if I do a honey. I only get honey from one guy that I happen to know around here, and I go and he collects it just, you know, very simply and doesn't heat anything. I can do that one, and it's low pollen,
Right.
but you have to see how you feel. You'll know right away.
Right. Right. And then just to repeat again about the sweeteners, that if I'm not mistaken, please correct me if anyone here knows, but I believe that your sugar in your body, whether you take it through honey or maple syrup or white death or brown death, which I bet is loaded in vitamin A, by the way, like all the coconut sugars and because they're bright brown, orange, yellow, right?
Yeah.
And then they store as alcohol in the liver. So you're not helping yourself. And I'm pretty sure when Garrett was talking about that guy that has a terrible junk food diet, and I'm pretty sure he's talking about the sugars turn into aldehydes as
Oh,
well.
Ray Pete, are you talking about?
No, it was his friend, Mark. I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah. I know who.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know his friend's name, and he's on a junk food diet, but it's a low A junk food diet. This is not recommended. This is not a good way to go. I'm sorry, he doesn't look good. And I know he's a friend of Garrett's, and there's no problem between them, but he's not an emissary of diet this approach to eating. And hello, Joa, nice to have you here. Welcome. Glad you're there on Facebook. And sun and sleep are the masters of healing. Yeah, my naturopath would say the sun is the best healer. If you know that it's, like Maya said, very detoxifying, it's going to bring stuff up. Like when I got pregnant with my son, I started getting sun rashes. As soon as I would get too much sun, I would break out in this really hot, itchy, long standing rash. Why? Because my skin is letting go of the toxins. High
Hmm.
speed, too high speed. Very uncomfortable. Yeah. And sleep is the real healing deal. That's a miracle. I never thought I would heal and sleep at the same time, but I am now, and that's like wow. I think I'm actually needing less sleep. I was needing more sleep for a while, and now I'm waking up and I'm awake after 6 7 hours, and I'm good.
Wow.
But yeah, the iboga trip. I know I've been loosely following that. Again, back to the poisoning and the liver. I don't want to be too pessimistic, but I'm kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop with him because he's also been on the high frequency stuff. Frequency is another big topic. I don't know, Dagmar. I bet we're gonna have to do part two because there's a lot of topics we're not getting to on this for some
I know.
reason. Yeah, if you're
Well,
available for.
we gotta get into the Jack Cruz cult. I mean,
Oh,
there's so many cults that I just want to, and not to throw them away, but just, there's something, the clock is right twice every wrong, whatever, clock is right twice a day, or what is that saying?
yeah, I don't know the saying, but when you set your clock to the wrong time, it's right twice a day.
Right, that's it. That's it. Thank you, Beth, for your clarity. Yeah, I mean, he's got some points, but my God, I mean, his paleo diet, which is just eating all tons of bottom feeders from the ocean, and eating mostly like fish, and the high fat and all of that. Yeah, he says that the sun is good for you and blue light isn't. But as we're learning on this diet, that really blue light is not the problem. I mean,
Oh,
yes,
good.
you don't want to have it on, late at night on your computer, but yeah. So there's many layers to this, and I don't know how these guys. I don't know how Jack still is around, but I think there's something off about him personally. Oops.
Right. Yeah, I'm not familiar with him. Oh, and Jackie said it's Matt Stone. Yeah, that's the guy. All respect to him, but he doesn't look good i- at all. He's not a good example of the love your liver. Garrett is a great example of the
There
love
it
your
is.
liver.
Thank God. I mean,
Oh, I know.
that's a big part. That's a big part.
Yeah,
You look at someone like Jack Cruz, you're like, oh Lord, no. Or Wim Hof. They may have all kinds of powers, or self-aggrandizing sense of themselves, but the
they're
proof is in
jacked
the
up
pudding.
on poison.
They're jacked up on poison. And
Yeah,
also it's just like, when you're talking to a person, you can feel if they're there or not. And I
yeah.
always feel that Garrett is very, very present to everyone. And his patience is astounding. When we do the office hours, when people come in with all their issues and things that they're progressing in this, I think his graciousness in that is just like mind blowing, because I would be losing it.
I know. Oh, I cheer for him every time. It's
because
sometimes, you know what, like, I had somebody reject him the other day when I shared it, and it was because they didn't like him. And first of all, I wanted to say, well, you know, if you don't like him now, you probably would have liked him a lot less back in the start, you know, because you can see the evolution. To me, this gives people a lot of credibility when you can see over time how they have improved. Not only his health improved based on his own anecdotal reporting, but his looks changed.
yeah,
He has
he's got bone structure. He didn't have that before.
I know, his skull changed shape. He went from, like, God bless him, if you're hearing this, but he went from someone I wouldn't have felt was particularly good looking to being a very attractive man, right?
Yep.
Like, you can vitality, it's alive, and like you say, in the shape of the face, he's grown a head of hair. Now, this is not due to just the Love Your Liver approach. He's created a hair growth process within his course that you can get access to there, but it's very much part of the whole, you know, detox and re-nourishing kind of plan that he's created there. So yeah, I can't recommend it enough. And I'm a broken record. Sam just asked about almond milk. Almonds, I discovered extremely high in, is it both oxalates and copper?
Well, it copper and oxalates are like crazy because the moment you grind the almond, you release even more. So it is like the biggest oxalate hit you could be doing, even
They're
more so than eating an almond.
okay, yeah, right. So they're kind of dangerous in the milk. I don't know about vitamin A. I don't think it's a particularly high source of vitamin A because it's a light colored food. That's not a guarantee though.
Unless
So
you
yeah,
no, the skin could have
right.
high, yeah.
And the skin is bitter, so that's obviously, you know, having, yeah, I used to peel those darn almonds to dehydrate them. Talk about work and
I
kitchen
still
sink.
have some in the freezer.
Yeah, oh yeah, I still have them. I keep giving my son's friend went organic, and he'll eat anything organic, so I keep like, oh, here you go.
I do. Everybody thinks I'm so generous now. Every time anybody comes over, I go, "Would you like some whey-fed Amish bacon, organic?"
Exactly.
Because I
I
know they're
know.
going to eat it anyway. Not that I support it, and I tell them I don't eat this anymore, but I notice you do. So
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I gave him all my bacon. It was so great to get that out of the freezer, actually. Bee bread is a beautiful thing. I've never heard of that. Might be some
bee bread.
bone in there. Let's see. We have to go a little quicker now because I'm gonna have to get going. Wim Hof is a psyop. He killed people with his stuff. See, we need to hear this stuff for God's sake, and people
I
are
mean,
still worshiping at his feet.
yeah, and he disappeared during the pandemic for like it was just interesting because I've been following him since 2011 maybe, and so he suddenly disappeared and then he reappeared and he's connected to all kinds of intriguing people. I don't know about what's going
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And then just for the disclaimer that Matt Stone isn't in the Love Your Liver program, neither is Grant Generu, you guys. So if you get taken sideways by Grant, he's not kept up. I'm sorry to say. I mean, I love him and he did a great interview here, and his discovery of vitamin A toxicity is unparalleled, but he never actually followed a good path. He never accepted the invitations for him to come into Garrett's work and work together. So he's not a good example by any means. And then he bought into the whole Team Calcium. I feel like those guys are plants, came to disrupt and create division and confusion, and that's, I don't know. I'm a little mad about that still. So yeah, so much to take in here. So I am going to have to start to close off for today.
on.
And so we'll talk about if we can do part 2 next week and go deeper into this stuff or another time. Almond is also cyanide. Yeah.
Yeah,
Rumors about
that's, yep,
Guru
that's so
tempted to do the hair growth thing, and you missed the early bird. So now the price is high. Anyone in the chat, anything to say about it? I don't know anyone who's used it. Only Garrett. And yeah, so no, he froze people to death. His his wife's death is linked to him. Wow. Yeah, I know of another natural death that's related to the spouse too. Jack Cruz is a Bitcoin peddler. Good to know.
And there was so many guys whose wives died in various things that I've been involved in, mysterious deaths. I even know a guy who sent his own mother to the hospital because he created structured water, with the spinning thing. There, you spin the water and you structure it, and the mother drank it and ended up in the hospital because it was just, it she wasn't used to anything like that. So you just
Yeah,
don't know. You just don't, this was
I
the
know.
I mean, yeah, LA is.
So let's save it, Dagmar, if you
Yeah,
don't mind, because we're getting into a new topic here. Next time, we're going to talk about water. We're going to talk about frequencies. We're going to
yeah,
talk about salt.
yes,
I can barely contain myself. Don't eat Celtic salt.
yeah.
There's now a lawsuit for lead and arsenic poisoning from Celtic Salt against that company. It is a bona fide class action suit that I have verified. You can go and find that or hit me up for that. Also, they've been finding shrimp in the salt because it's not clean. Right. So sorry, I had to dump that really quickly. We're going
Oh,
to talk all the truther drugs. They love their ivermectin, methylene blue, and femben. We're going to talk about sulfur. We didn't go deep into. We're going to talk about the parasite craze. We didn't go deep into
oh,
the
yes, we got
magnet,
about
the
that.
mag, the magnet cult.
Yes.
What else we got here? I think the chocolate diet, all that kind of
How
stuff.
about the specific carbohydrate diet? That's
Write
another.
it down. Write
Yeah,
it down. Yeah, yeah.
I
Like
have a
no
whole bunch written down here.
the
The
no carb diet.
diet, the anti-inflammatory diet, yeah, we have.
Write them down. Write them down if you can, because I'm unfortunately I literally have to run. And so yeah, this is to say the worship of plants and the worship of nature. Yes, go outside, be outside, and enjoy yourself. There's lots of benefits, but don't think that natural is good. This is a logical fallacy. It makes no sense. It's possible we're here for plants and not the other way around.
I think plants want our bodies under them so we can decompose and give them nutrition.
Exactly. And Jackie, from what I understand, yes, the Celtic salt, that's what they say. Oh, it's from France. No, no, it's full of garbage. It's not, yeah, you need pure salt.
Yes.
So thank you everyone for coming. We'll add red light therapies to the list, but so far that seems good.
Yeah.
So yeah. And we'll add ketogenic,
Oh yeah,
keto.
I have them all listed here, Beth. I'll send you my list.
Perfect.
Uh,
Okay, great. Great.
yeah.
So with any luck, Dagmar is available next week and we'll be back on with you Friday, the whatever it's going to be, plus 7 is 19. And same time, 2 p.m. Central time. Do stay tuned. I'm just going to really quickly remind you guys that I've got Kelsey on coming up next week on the 18th to talk about brain food and breath food. She's so stoked and excited about that. And then the 22nd, Alex Michael is coming on. That'll be after the next Beth of Fresh Air. I want to let you guys know that I've got a course that is all ready and fired up to go. People are signing up right now. It's the maiden voyage of Creator Code. And this is the answer to what people told me. The problem is that they're having a hard time visioning when they think the world is ending. So I am taking people on a 12-week journey. This is how I got myself out of a near-death experience that if you didn't catch Beth of Fresh Air 1, I went into very big detail about that. And so until the 15th, this course will come along with a free 3-month guest membership to the House of Free Will that we mentioned, where there's deeper knowledge and private meetings. And we're going big into English law to try to, not to try to disprove, but disproving so much of the alternative law crap out there. We have our own private little Love Your Liver group where we support each other in a chat, and we have meetings. In fact, one tomorrow at noon Central Time. All kinds of library resources are in there. So if you sign up for Creator Code before or by the 15th, then it comes with 3 months in the House of Free Will, my guest. And the early bird is only on until December 29th. So if you're interested in going from feeling like you're just troubleshooting the crap in life to wanting to be able to put out what's actually in your heart of hearts to create for yourself and for everyone else, then it's a really good time to have a look at that. And I think that's all for today. I have a Christmas party going to start very soon. We got a little one coming, so we had to start really early. Thank you so much, Dagmar, for joining today. I
Thank you for
totally appreciate it.
always fun. My
Yeah,
favorite subject.
nice, nice. I knew you had a lot to share about this, and so we will see you guys all again. I'm going to let's see, play us out with another round of myself, and now for me again. All right, everyone, have a beautiful rest of your day. So much love to you, and bye for now.
Thank you.
Oh, my true guide, Lord and supporter of all, forever free from identity. Be well, I'm dwelling in you. Be well, I am dwelling in you. Be well, I am dwelling in you. Ipadrashkanu manta, Shibarata Gupta, Maheshwara, Paramatme, Ijabi Okto, Deyasmin, Purusha.